at this point, I think a lot of the people who are going to be watching this video have already seen the film. I wanted to give my own opinion on my experience, share some things that I thought they did really well, things that I thought maybe they could have done a little bit better. I'm going to try not to be too critical as well as ruin too many spoilers. I actually have waited to post this video because I didn't really want to spoil the movie for anybody who might happen to watch the channel or possibly have not seen it yet. Before I start on the movie, I want to confess, so I went opening night and I paid a premium ticket to see it early, extra, in addition to the already high ticket prices. And then I went and saw it again about a week later. And I actually went and saw it a week later for a different reason, because I'm going to give you a review of both of my experiences. I actually want to call out AMC a little bit. $20 for a film is a lot of money, and then if you get popcorn or soda with it, that's even more. And I think that certain minimal standards should have been kept. When I went to see the movie the first time, I went opening night. The first time we went, I think the studio that I was in, the surround sound or whatever it was not working properly or didn't work very well. Had a lot of trouble hearing the film. In addition to that, when the movie started, we didn't get any trailers, so I got like no sort of build up to anticipation. It's just, let's fare the film. You know what I mean? And I guess that's fine, but I had like a 7 o'clock showtime. We weren't rushing. You know what I mean? It should have been a comfortable, let's get into the groove of this, and just didn't feel like it was a really good theater experience. The theater that I was in, it was a plush theater, had like leather seats, reclining buttons, very unusual, or just not unusual, but a lot of fancy, all the bells and whistles. But then there were things that they didn't have, like the projection was just slightly off enough. It was like enough that most people wouldn't say it, so it wasn't going to ruin the film, but it was off. It's like the picture wasn't finite. And then on top of that, the screen that they were projecting on. So let's say this was the entire shape of the screen. They weren't using the full screen, so they weren't blowing it up as much as they could. Now, I can't tell them how to run it, but it really distracted from the film when you were watching, what appeared to be the entire film. And it wasn't like that they couldn't have just simply, let's say on the screen, I'm looking at this and, I can see what I'm putting up. Let's say this is the picture. You can see the top of my fingers are not touching. So they could have done something to better fill that space, at least push up against one, maybe two of those edges if there was some weird restriction. They didn't do that. And so that was a big thing for me. I really wanted that big theater experience, and it kind of felt like I was watching an old movie on a, over at my folks' house, where it was like an old TV or something like that. But then also, too, they had these leather seats with the reclining chairs, but then they didn't have the AC on. And we were like 50% full. Okay, 50% full, 50% empty, however you want to think about it. It was, it was a full theater, it was a regular, occupied theater. And it was so uncomfortable. I couldn't enjoy the film. I mean, for the first experience, I didn't like it as much. And I went like all out. I got... I'll talk about this later, but I went and I got the set and I made a big deal out of it and I wanted to get it. And so that was my first experience. And I figured I just had a bad experience, so I went to another one. So whenever I planned my second visit, I went to a theater that had like a laser enhanced image. It wasn't, it basically sounded like it was a big LED screen or something like that, or there was different technology behind the projector so that there was a chance of getting a better image. And that did happen. But then it was other little lesser things. So the second time I went and saw it, I caught one immediately after work. I saw one like about 5 o'clock. I left work a little early, and I went and saw it by myself. First time I saw it with my family. Second time I watched it by myself. The problem that I had the second time was, so my wife actually bought the early release tickets for me because she knew I really wanted to see them, and it was a digital ticket. Well, it's dumb, but I kind of wanted a stub, something that I can kind of hold on to. Well, when I went to go buy my ticket, I couldn't get, this is actually my receipt for not only my ticket, but the other things that I bought before I even stepped into the theater, which was a popcorn and drink. So I spent $13 on a drink, $16 on my ticket, and then I didn't even get my ticket. I mean, technically, this was the piece that would have been my ticket. Now, somebody talked to me and basically had to even write down my theater, but this is a somebody at the booth writing down where I was supposed to go. But I mean, come on, I wanted the ticket, you know what I mean? And just that, And then I bought a drink as well. So when I go to the drink, they have one of those Coca-Cola 100 different varieties of flavor things. So I know that, you know, when you're using these, you need to be careful, make sure you get a machine that's got it worked out right. They had 5 of these machines. I accepted the last one I got because it was the closest they could come without me missing my movie. And it just didn't taste good. I mean, I just paid, you know, roughly $6 and change for a soda. I kind of thought it might taste good. Terrible. The 3 that were on the side of the theater that I was on, or the side of the theater that my studio or my theater was on, all 3 of those tasted like garbage. And when I went to the other side where there were only 2, they did taste better, but neither one of them tasted great. I eventually just filled up with what I had. And I wasn't hungry. I wasn't thirsty. I actually got it because I didn't want any distraction from the film. I wanted to be able to just sit in the chair, watch the film, not get up for any reason. I just wanted to enjoy it. And both experiences were completely different. So here's where I get into the actual film review. The first time I watched it, I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. I mean, I still got a B from me, but I felt I'd already listened to what a lot of the critics were saying, and that the pacing for the film was kind of all over the place. And I kind of agree with that, at least the first time I watched it. Every time I thought they would say something that was like, you know, really kind of cool or interesting, they sort of followed it up with a joke. And the jokes did kill it a little bit for me the first time around. I thought the jokes were a little heavy. Didn't even notice them the second time. Second time, it's almost like I didn't see the jokes, and I had a better film just because not so many jokes. Now, some of the jokes are good. Some of the jokes are fun, but there was stuff I just didn't like. Just the fact that it was on top of each other, at least the first time around. Again, I didn't notice it the second time. So I'm going to try to stay to the first experience with my family. I was a little tense watching the movie because I wanted my family to love it as much as I do. I wanted them to enjoy the film, and it was actually kind of an emotional thing for me because I wanted to share this with my family. And while my whole family loved it, my wife thought it was good. Of course, my oldest daughter, she thought it was a better film than she expected. She enjoyed it more than she thought she would. That was her words. My youngest, she wanted more Mechaneck. That was her big thing. She wanted more Mechaneck in the film. So, and the fact that they all had a good time, and I mean, we were talking about it a little bit on the way home, and I was nerding out about it, talking about, you know, this is what they did, this is what they could have did. I had little Easter eggs that I picked up during the film, which I'll try not to mention too heavy. However, I do have one that I want to go over a little later that I'm actually very excited about because I didn't notice it the first time around, but the second time I did, and nobody seems to be really kind of paying much attention to this, but I thought it was kind of neat, actually. When you see one for yourself that you think nobody else sees, it kind of makes it like a little secret or a game that you're sitting on, that you caught something nobody else did. And it's kind of dumb. It's fun, but whatever. Again, I enjoyed the first time. I gave it a solid B, but I would feel the second time that I saw it, I gave it like a B+. And it was just because of other things that were missing. I got the roll up to the movie before it started, so it started to feel like a theatrical release. I actually recorded this video 1 or 2 times already, but I want to make sure I get these parts out because I feel like this isn't being said enough. Okay, first off, Jared Leto, excuse me. He did a good job. I was actually really worried that because of some of the negative publicity that he's been getting, because of some of his track record with some of these IP franchises, he wasn't going to do a good job. He did a great job. I think he kind of made it his own a little bit, but at the same time wasn't so different that you didn't recognize it. And you did note when he was very in character. Does that make sense? It's like he did a really good job. I mean, I want to call it great, and there's really no reason why you can't, actually. I mean, he did a great job. Now, I think his name is Idris Elba. I didn't have anything to say about this because I know that Hollywood's been doing race swaps and stuff, and I'm all for bringing everybody in the family. Does that make any sense? I don't care. Just do the part well, and I don't care. And oh my God, he did it. Not only did he do it, I kind of wondered how anybody was going to pull off that mustache. You know what I mean? He did. He was great. And I don't really know him from anything else, so this was my first introduction to him. I'm going to be looking for more of his films. He did a great job. Now, this is actually one that I really wanted to point out that I don't think got enough time. The Sorceress. I actually, if I'm honest, I don't like The Sorceress. Okay? I liked her in this. Like, especially when she was a bird, which I know was probably more of her time on screen than she was when she was in human form. The woman that they got to voice her, to do the bird, her speaking voice was just perfect. I mean, in the exchange, like in the final scenes where, she's speaking to him, I don't know. I can't wait till it comes out on video, because I'm going to be watching it again and again. And even watching this film, made like the 87 film, I haven't gone back and re-watched it again, but I have watched it. I originally had not watched it, or not seen it in a long time, and then I did a video a while back saying where I would go and see it again. I actually did break down and check it out with my family, where they were just kind of like, come on, let's see it, and they're expecting it to be really, really terrible. And it wasn't great, of course, it wasn't great, but because of series like Revolution and Revelation, and some of the pop culture around it, the fact that, if you're in the He-Man circles, sort of the He-Man stuff, and it made the whole thing a lot more enjoyable. I think that because I was a better fan of it at the point that I watched it, where I was sort of fresh on all this stuff, and again, because I actually like Revolution, Revolution especially, Revelation, it wasn't bad, but it was something new, and I know it got a lot of bad publicity when it came out, and I can understand why, but at the same time, some of it was like, let's just see where they're going with this. But there are a lot of Easter eggs in Revolution that made the movie itself much easier to watch. And even in this, because of the same, now I've watched 87, I can watch this, and you've got little Easter eggs in this, like Karg and Pig Boy, that you can kind of enjoy a little bit more. So I really thought it was a good film, especially like the second time around. The second time when I went and watched the film, didn't notice any of it. Sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked. But to go back to The Sorceress, I really think, I don't know her actor, the actor there either. I think that she did a great job. I would like to, I hope that if they do something more, that she comes back and she doesn't get recast, or that she gets plenty of screen time, because I think her speaking voice, especially in Zoar, I love her voice in Zoar. Teela did a great job. Liked some of the characters in the film. I like this Dion character they brought back from the comics. I don't know this character. I like the personality that she had. Actually, there's a scene in the film where He-Man is giving all the characters names. And I just imagine her going to Adam and being like, did you ever come up with a name for me? And like, no, I guess I did. I kind of feel bad, kind of don't. Like she like kind of like kicks him, like, how you feel? You feel kind of good? Feel kind of bad? Like kind of good, kind of don't. But it's just, I liked her. I liked her a lot. I hope that if we get another run at this, that she's part of the franchise as well, because it was just a fun. When I think about it, she could have easily been Andrea from the Revolution and Revelation series. I liked that she was who she was, that she wasn't, that she was, I'm going to say, had just a different personality. I like that. Okay. I don't know. I think that she did a good job. Hope to see her again. So there were some things in the film that I didn't like, because I feel like they didn't finish the story. Now, I've heard that there is potentially an unedited version of the film that's coming out where there was supposedly closer to runtime to about 3 minutes or 3 hours, where on screen we end up getting about 2 hours 12 minutes was the runtime. There are parts in the film that I feel like they cut parts of it out that didn't make sense. So, for example, whenever they arrive on Eternia and Teela presents Adam to Fisto, there's an exchange that they have there where she points out to Fisto, this is the Lost Prince, and he can prove it. And so the joke is he pulls out his ID and the guy just sort of stares at it. But what was she thinking that he was going to say or do? Does he have like a family crest somewhere on his body? How was he going to prove it? But they didn't finish that scene. And I feel like that scene might have a little bit more to it. Additionally, there was another scene which I thought was a gaping hole in the plot line. And this one I actually can't forgive. There's a scene where they basically Skeletor challenges the Masters to show up and come see him in Snake Mountain because he's got the king and queen. And so Teela, Man-at-Arms, Roboto, and of course Adam show up, and when they get there, He-Man or Adam just goes to see Skeletor, and the others just go straight into the dungeon. There's no fight, no nothing. And I just, for the scenes that come later in the film, I understand why they would end up in the same cell or in a prison cell, but I didn't think they should be jumping in. Does that make any sense? I mean, if they were going to do that, why didn't He-Man just walk right up to the door himself? Okay. And then there was something else that I didn't like. So, for those who don't know, throughout the film, you're going to get a sort of 3 different transformation sequences. Okay. And I admit some of this is going to be Easter eggs, some of this is going to be tiebacks to certain iterations. I was hoping it was going to be a Filmation transformation. And what I mean by that was, when he transforms, he says, by the power of Grayskull, and then in the movie version, he holds his hand up above. It says, by the power, or I have the power. And I feel like that was like maybe it was a New Adventures. That's kind of how they did it in 2000X. That's how they did it in the movie. But that's not how they did it in Filmation. Okay? I felt it should have been more like they did it in, I'm going to say, Revelation and, Filmation He-Man, where he would bring down the sword, he'd sort of stare into it, the power would flow through the sword, he'd hold it, stare into it, and it would, the energy would fill him, and maybe even have like his hair, as he holds on to it and just sort of, and just gets bigger. That is how I wish they had done that scene. But then on top of that, we get possibly 3 different transformations in the film. The first one, where he does it in front of Trapjaw, which, I'll come back to that in a minute. In the end, in the final battle, he transforms after against the fight against Skeletor. But when it does it, so basically he raises it up, the camera sort of chases the lightning into the sky, into the clouds, and then when it comes back down, he's already transformed, so we don't get to see him change. I wish they had. I would have liked, again, to see that, him just sort of, taking the power into him. I would have liked that. And then in the final scene, we see, I think everybody knows we get sort of gypped. We didn't get gypped. We got what they could give us. And at the end of the day, the film has spent a lot of money on this, which I'm going to talk about that too. They did a great, they gave it to us. They maybe they didn't have the budget to keep going, but they still tried. And I'm grateful that they did. We have got a Battle Cat in a theater. It's been 40 years, but we did get it. And not only did we get it, we got it in the theater. You know what I mean? So one of the things was, people were talking about how much they possibly spent on this movie. And I want to sort of point out, well, right now the film is not doing the numbers that I think every Masters fan wants instead to have. It's doing good, it's just not, near breaking even with the production budget. However, I want to point out that the production budget has been speculated to be $170 million to $200 million. Some of this has been script writing, okay? There's a good chance that before they even got to this stage, this was already spent with the next flick. When Netflix was working out the screenplay and script with Mattel. They said that by the time that they actually parted ways, there were a lot of reports that said it was around $30 million that had already been spent, and some as many as $50 million. So, and you don't recognize a loss in business until you've actually completed the project, okay? So, besides the fact that you had the script writers, the props, and all that other stuff that was going into it, it didn't come about until then. Who's to say that, the $30,000 script that they landed on when they left Netflix was the one that they actually went with? It wasn't a final one. It was just part of getting it right, or getting it to where it ended up at. So, with that in mind, if you think that there's a chance that the film may have only needed to make between 100 and 100, or excuse me, 120,000 and 170,000. If that's true, it kind of makes its haul, if you will, at the theaters right now, the intake, a little bit closer to home, and it's doing better than you think it is. Now they're talking about this Amazon model, which I hope they continue on. I would love another Masters film. She-Ra, bring her on. Do I dare dream of a trilogy? I'm gonna dream. I'd love to see it. But, I mean, you've got to do it, and you got to do it right. You can't just do it to do it. And they're saying they're saving the props that they used for the first film. I hope we get another. I so hope we get another one. There were other parts in the film that I felt that there were maybe a couple of jokes that we actually didn't get. There's a scene where He-Man actually encounters a goat, or maybe a ram man, piloting a fright fighter, and I feel like that actually was maybe a scrubbed joke, or maybe even he might have said something under his breath, joking about how he had called Ram Man, and then there's a Ram Man. There's a part in the film that involves an Amazon truck. Okay, I don't want to beat around too much, but we never saw who was driving that truck, and that is what I would have think if they would have added that extra little tidbit in there, it would have taken away some of the what I'm going to call cheese in the Amazon truck even being in the film. I think that truck should have been driven by Alan Oppenheimer. When I was in the theater, I had a stopwatch app on my phone going, and basically from the minute that he jumps through the portal to the minute he jumps through the portal coming back to Eternia, it's 22 minutes. Now, it doesn't count the time that he's actually in the portal. It was 22 minutes, okay? That's how much time they spend on Earth. And while I'm glad that they got Dolph in there, and it's great that I wish that dialogue had been a little bit more natural flowing, okay? Just something along, I like the fact he's like, "You're in my spot." That was great. I actually like that very much. But then the rest of the dialogue after that I felt was really jolted. And I wish that instead the exchange had been something more like, don't worry about getting big really fast, okay? A lot of this process is learning, learning through mistakes, and just having a good journey, and that being the tag for the film, the tag for the original 87 film, good journey, and just have it more refer to him growing and becoming who he's meant to be. That would have been, I think, much more subtle and less forced than what we got. But I do think it's great that he was there. I wish there had been some other Easter eggs. I would have, really appreciated seeing Melanie Britt in there somewhere, because at the end of the day, like Melanie Britt, Alan Oppenheimer, Melanie Britt not so much, but Alan Oppenheimer unfortunately is in his 90s at this point. I would have loved to, I don't know, just cemented him in this film, because unfortunately he won't be with us forever. And as long as he is, it's wonderful. I love him. He is, awesome. I wish he'd been in the film, because I feel like for as much, he's done so much, not either him, it should have been him, but there were other people who could have done cameos even in that 22 minutes on Earth. Cam Clark, the guy who voiced He-Man for the 2000X films, or 2000X series, he could have been there. I felt like we could have done a little bit more, even though a lot of people were saying, and probably rightfully so, that we shouldn't be on Earth. For 22 minutes, it was fine. There was nothing. I'm hoping that when they talk about cut scenes and things like that they're not saying that it was more of that time. And if it's done well, if it maybe even adds these scenes that I'm asking for, that'd be great. Because if you look at one of my the speculation video that I aired, by the way, I had actually uploaded the wrong video. When I upload this one, I'll take my time, make sure that my logo on my shirt is proper ways. But the film that actually, or the video that made it online is actually the unedited video that I took. I actually edited it and then was quickly trying to get it up, just simply because I hadn't done this in so long. I didn't do a great job, and that's why I made a mistake. But there's like little nuances that I mentioned in that I didn't even say, because I actually typed over it and typed what I meant to say because I was speaking, and then I never finished my thought, because then I quickly jumped to the next one of which was like my idea for the Dolph cameo, where basically there's going to be a point in the film where basically He-Man's not going to win. And again, I'm hearing it's going to be campy. I would have liked the idea that, Dolph Lundgren's He-Man, with AI or something aged back, him and Gwildor would have just sort of popped through a portal for a minute, and it's like something's happened where like maybe the He-Man lost his sword or something, and he gives him his, and it looks just like the '87 one, and then again, I'm probably using this wrong, but then Gwildor uses the cosmic key to change it to the sword of this universe, and then he uses it, and that's how he, gets the ability to save the day, close out the story. Again, I know it's a little cheesy, but that was actually the thought that I started talking about, and then I didn't. There was another one as well. If it comes up to me during this, it's probably not a great little thought anyway. But that was what I actually wish they had done at the time. Did you notice when you're watching the film, they did a lot of winks in like the first half of the film, or first act of the film, it seemed like to me. Even Skeletor at one point with his skull, this unyielding shape of face, he actually winked at the camera. It was kind of like a just sort of a flinch. But there's a part I want to say in the first act of the film, you've got Teela, Man-at-Arms, Adam, which Adam did it a couple times. One was more obvious. One was whenever they was showing his idea to Fisto, that he winks and gives sort of a look to Teela. That was a more obvious wink, but he does it another time in the film before that. And then, again, I thought it was kind of cheesy. It got on my nerves, but eventually it ended, and that was okay. But it's like, I swear, if anybody else winks at me, I was getting a little upset. So next was obviously the joke of the Fright Zone, the toy store. Now, there was actually another part that I had here where that didn't make sense. There's a guy who says in the film, basically for $300 it's yours, but we never see him pay this guy that shows him where the sword is. And I have, as far as I'm concerned, this entire toy store is chock-load of my favorite Easter eggs. Okay, and this is the one that I want to point out to everyone that I don't think anybody's either caught right or that is getting enough attention. So one of which was, as soon as he enters into the toy store, basically he trying to find out who it is that contacted him about the sword. And the first person he approaches, in the scene where they're talking, he's kind of asking if it's him or not. You can see this wall that they're all both staring at. And in my mind, now I've seen a screen image of this online since then, and it's not the screen image that I remember seeing. I remember it a little bit differently. But basically, the screen is split into two halves. This side over here, actually I'm going to reverse this because it's going to be backwards on the camera. This side over here there's like textiles or something on the screen that is like color splotches of characters that I want to say I recognize. Like, for example, you'll see green and yellow could be Man-at-Arms, it can be, Battle Cat, it could be Cringer, it could be Merman, could be 100 things, could be me just looking for Easter eggs, okay? But it's only because, like, and there's other ones. Like you'll see black, gray, and red, which makes me think Zodak, maybe the Horde, Hordak, could be 100 other things. But it's very obvious to me. I thought it was something. So I'm like, if this is something, what's on the other side of the room? And then on this side of the room, there was some things that didn't make sense, like why they were there. They're in a toy store, in a collectible shop. Okay. On the wall are a bunch of wigs. Of which the three that were most notable to me, and again, I haven't found the same picture that I remember seeing when I found it, because when I found it, I tell you, man, that I couldn't hold that moment long enough because I was just like, I was trying to figure out what I was looking at, because there were things on the wall. The most noticeable thing for me was there were three wigs, a long-haired white one, a long-haired pink one, and a dark blue one that was probably short-haired. Now, the first two makes me think that they might, and they were girls' wigs, okay, because they were long hair. Makes me think that it was Frosta, was the long-haired white, and then Glimmer was the pink. And then also there was like plenty of, like, I'm going to call it nail accessories and makeup supplies on sort of a table, sort of sitting in a, I'm not sure what you would call it, little basket or something. Those look like female makeup tools and things like that, things along the lines of doing fingernails. And I figured that has to be a nod to that. Now that blue one with the short makes me really question, what am I looking at here? And like I had to force it a little bit because I'm not familiar with She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. I've never seen it. I've seen a couple clips of it, and it's off of Netflix now. I wish I had given it a chance. I've seen one of the transformations in that for She-Ra, and it wasn't terrible. You know, I know where the story goes. I know where it ends up. I wish I had seen it more to see what they did with the characters, just for the character designs, if nothing else. And if it is good, I mean, why would I want to miss that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. It never happened when it was on TV. I wasn't watching that. But I don't think that that's the only. So the blue hair makes me think that it might be Lookie. And when I started thinking about Lookie, it actually drew me back to my own other thought about the store. There's a scene where a woman comes up to Adam and tells him that he can't touch the sword. Okay, and in some of the early promotions, a lot of people, the rumor was this woman might possibly be Orko. I don't think she was Orko. It's not a perfect match, but I can see some serious resemblance there. I think that was Lookie, and the idea that Lookie was in the Fright Zone, and forgive me if you remember or you know who Lookie is, the whole idea was, did you find him? There he is. Okay, so maybe. I just had fun watching it. It was a really good film. I did enjoy it more the second time. There was some. The humor choices were a little bit much, and there's a couple jokes they made that I didn't care for. I think everybody who's seen the film is aware of what those ones probably were. But they really did a great film. A good job. I hope that. I want to thank Travis Knight for doing this. I think he did a decent job. I loved some of the Easter eggs that I found in the film. And I appreciate some of the ones that other people have pointed out. It's just this was a great movie, especially if you've been waiting, like we have, for 40 years for this to happen. I mean, I would love for it to have hit better and for more people to get on. And I mean, you guys got to take down those clips. I was worried when Mattel was airing all the clips of all the scenes of the film in the promotion leading up to the film, the movie, that they were going to ruin some of the best parts. There's a lot in there. And some people have said that there might be a lull during the movie. I wasn't feeling it. I think that the whole way through, from start to finish, I mean, the pacing, it slowed down, but it wasn't a lull. Like, there was no part like, okay, now's the time to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? I was never doing that. It was like, you know, I just enjoyed the film. It did a great job. I want to thank Mattel for doing it. I hope that they get their money back. I appreciate them investing in this franchise, and I hope there's more in store because I want to see where they're going. Maybe sometime I'll do a video where I actually talk about some of the odd ideas that I have for different sequel movies or different interpretations of some of the established IPs, because I have some twists that I would like to do with some of the properties to make them a little bit different. And I think a lot of people, I don't know, it could be good, could not be good. I'll see if there's any demand for that. If you think you actually have any interest, put something down in the comments and I'll be sure to see them. I will be doing some videos again soon. This weekend I will actually be doing some traveling, so I won't be working on anything, but we're coming back, okay? I don't know if it's going to be the exact same format. My girl's a little bit older now, but we're coming back, and we'll see you soon. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I mean, if you can drop down, if you can drop a few dollars for a ticket, go check it out. If you need to save a little bit money, a lot of places offer a discount day. It is a different experience on the big screen. Just pick your theater well. Go check it out. I mean, and if you've got little ones, you've got young ones. Oh, actually, I jumped around a little bit. I want to talk about some of the closing credit scenes. I know that everybody wanted Orko in it. I'm glad that they put him in it. I hope they're not going to stick with that, however they did it. They tried, but in my opinion, they were out of budget. I felt like whatever appeared on screen looked like it was off of, I don't know, Amazing World of Gumball. It looked like mixed media, something, and they put it in the film to make it work and just to simply have him, because everybody wanted him, because we didn't get him in the 87 film. And for that, I am grateful that they did that for all the fans who really wanted to see him, and me included. I would have, you know, if we could have got a little more time, a little flesh out his personality, that would have been nice. But I didn't like how he looked. I just didn't. Maybe I'm asking for too much because, I mean, you know, you're like, if you think about how he's constructed or what he's actually supposed to be, I mean, that's like a creative writing contest on its own because he's a very unusually shaped character. And even what we do see is often hidden most of the time, so it's just unusual. She-Ra in the credits. Now, that's great. I think I kind of called that one, didn't I? I didn't even think that. I certainly didn't think they'd do the She-Ra theme, but I do hope we get it. I don't know if they were going to go a Despara way, if they were going to go a She-Ra way. It looked like they were actually leaning into She-Ra, which supposedly is impossible, but that'd be great. And I'm hoping very much that there's going to be an Amazon series coming. There was supposed to be an Amazon series in the work for the past year and a half or so, before they got the rights to the Masters of the Universe film. I hope it happens. You got to do it well. It's kind of like if we watch the Snyderverse version of Justice League versus the first version, completely different films. And one of the things about that is, I know that whenever they showed the Amazons in that film, loved it. But you've got to do it right. If you don't do it well enough, it'll push people away and have the opposite effect. So I hope they can do it. I'm not saying they can't, but you got to tread lightly. Just, you know, these are childhoods you've got in your hands. Just please be careful with them. Otherwise, I think you did a great job. And go see the movie. Go check it out. And I'll see you next time. Oh, speaking of which, actually, so I got this at AMC. In case you're curious how this is supposed to be displayed, this is how it's supposed to be displayed. Okay? If you guys remember these things, you could find these at like Dollar Trees. These cost $1 back in the day. I think you can find like a 5-pack of a He-Man, Skeletor, Merman, Orko, and Man-at-Arms. And they're pretty much in scale. We actually have in my house, we have a common area where we just put sort of knickknacks that people can look at and maybe just sort of brighten up the room a little bit in our kitchen area. And this, I had to bring this up here for this. It'll be back down there. When it's you know, when its time is done, it'll come up here in the cave. But the yeah, that's how you display it. In case anybody's not sure.